Well, Chris, there's been a lot of news happening this week, and one of the big things to drop was an announcement from Critical Role. I understand you have a couple things you want to say about this. So, what is it that's really caught your attention?
So, Critical Role is making an offer, and I thought it was fascinating how they made that offer. I'd like to break it down for everybody and show them how they can do it for themselves. Talking nerdy. We're just talking nerdy. With all this talking nerdy. Oh, come on, you wanna talk nerdy? Did you see this yet, Frank?
Yeah, kind of. I watched bits and pieces of it. I mean, I should say disclaimer, I am not a Critical Role fan. I have watched a couple of their episodes like you have, but I found it too slow, so I never got into it. And then I just I've every time I see their stuff, I'm always like, good for them. I'm glad that the community has a number one most successful tabletop role playing group, and they're not just doing D&D anymore. They've branched out, and that's really great, and they are entertaining. But I don't like them. Like, I don't like the show. I
You
like their entertainment ability. I like the stories they create. I respect them as creators, but I do not like the show.
you
Apart
are not a fan. You are number one in the Matt Mercer hate club. Um,
Oh, please. I have mad respect for Matt Mercer, and I love it when he guest stars on like Dimension 20 things because that's a show I enjoy.
ah,
But the problem I have is I actually was really jealous for a long time of Critical Role
mm.
because of what they were doing and the people on there. And I was like, God damn, because this was back in the days when I was an actor. So I was, I
So you
was
still got that bitter actor heart in you a little bit of
I have no reason to get over it. Like I said, I respect them, and when I worked at Wizards of the Coast, like I crossed paths with them, and that was that. But I, so I'm not. I don't dislike them. I just am not a fan of the show. So I think that's useful in this discussion because I'm going to be fairly objective. I am not a fanboy of Critical Role, so I'm not going to be all hyped and excited about it. I'm going to look at this rather objectively.
great. And I'll I'm making it sound like, compared to Frank, I'm a fan, maybe, but
Aren't you?
no, I'm not really a fan. I never
Aren't
watched.
you a crit head? What are they called?
I don't even know actually.
Oh, okay.
Critter. I'm pretty sure they're
A
called.
critter.
I'm pretty
That's
sure
it.
they're called critters. And as long as you
You're right.
like anything, but I've only seen a few of them. I don't know the stories. I have watched Vox Machina or Machina on the,
Mm,
I think it was
that's true. I did
Netflix
watch those.
or no, Prime. I think has it.
Hmm.
Those were good. Those were fun. The voice acting's cool, and the animation was nice. So I've watched those, but I'm not a huge fan, but I am a big fan of what they do from a business perspective. I'm always paying attention to what they're doing because they have done what I believe everybody who is probably wanting to be a nerdpreneur has. They've done what every nerdpreneur wants to do, and that is create a product that people love and a community around it that supports them just for making that product. And they've done that through a lot of hard work and a lot of time and effort that they've established. And for those of you who have no idea what Critical Role even is, it is a tabletop RPG played by voice actors, and it is considered the number one tabletop RPG show, if you want to call it that, in the world. So they started a number of years ago, just playing in some guy's room, and it was being streamed. And then slowly they grew and grew and grew in popularity, eventually moved on to Twitch, that whole platform where people watch people play video games. But then they started watching people play D&D, and they became the number one rated show and number one watch show on Twitch, as far as tabletop RPGs. And it was crazy, their success, because there was like millions of dollars being funneled into this one show. So they got production behind it. They now have producers and a full production company that really creates this thing. And they've emerged as generally this kind of corporate entity that is known as Critical Role. But what you'll see when we talk about the offer is how they are not positioning themselves as that. their positioning in the market is just a bunch of nerds who want to keep doing what they love doing. And they have no real business sense at all, but they just kind of do what they do and support us if you like, which is their positioning in the market.
Yeah, and for some just what's it called? Context, I guess. Their YouTube channel has 2.2 million subscribers. So they are successful, and that's
That's
that is
just
going
YouTube, by the
to
way.
that's just YouTube.
On Twitch, they've got another few million people who watch them there. They have,
They're doing well.
what other platforms are they on? God,
Oh yeah, they're on. I think they pretty much kept it to Twitch. I'm pretty sure they didn't go to Mixer or other ones. I think they did YouTube actually at the same time, but I don't know. I don't know. So this is where we start to get out of our element.
They also run live events, though. Like, they've done tons and tons of live events. They've also been at cons all over the world. They basically
They
have,
sell out those events.
yeah, they basically, each of them have their own sort of celebrity level that they've reached, everyone who's played in this. So it's an interesting group of people, and I guess it's probably like 7 or 8 of them that are kind of the core group, and then there's people who kind of come in and out of that group throughout. They've played celebrities in there as well, and they've got, people who love D&D coming and going.
So what is the special offer? What is how are they monetizing their audience?
Well, they do a lot of things. Basically, I think the thing to understand about Critical Role is the core of the show is watching this group play D&D with a long form party. They've done 3 seasons of it, and they're in their 3rd season right now. But in the last year, there's been a lot of changes and things that they've gone through. One of them is they stopped playing Dungeons and Dragons, and they created their own system called Daggerheart that they launched. So now they're also kind of a gaming company. They also are a production company because they're creating this content, and now they're also buying other shows in the market and putting them under their production company and starting to produce those shows. So they actually are, and they also have multiple different types of shows under their conglomerate now. And so you're seeing a real branding of what Critical Role is coming about. And they advertise and they use all the platforms from, Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. And like, they have all these like little micro communities and places in which to be. But what they actually are starting and what they just made an offer for is something they are calling Beacon. And what Beacon is essentially their own direct path to being a platform.
It's a membership service.
Yeah, essentially it's joining a membership service like a Netflix, if you will, or like any other Patreon or something, where you get exclusive, unique, and tailor-made content for you that is from the Critical Role people. And so that's and the way they talk about it in the offer is it's like the bonus features on a DVD, essentially, which is kind of funny because DVDs are old, and they also make reference to that too. So this is the thing. I can talk about it, but I feel like it's useful if people see some things about it. And I know this might seem like cringy, and I know you're about to cringe when I say we should just watch it, but I think if we do, you'll hear things in it that sound unintentional, but I want to show you the strategy that they're actually using behind it, so you as a nerdy entrepreneur can use it for your own crafting of an offer in the future as well.
Yeah, let's do it. Get it started.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Holy heck, this is a big update for us. As some of you may have heard, we are starting our very own membership service.
That's right, membership service! Beacon is finally here. Now, this is something that we have been working on for some time now, so we are super stoked that we are finally able to talk with you about it. Now, I'm sure many of you are asking, wait, what does this mean for us Twitch and YouTube subscribers?
Just like that.
In that voice. And the answer is nothing changes for those audiences on how you view our main shows. You will still be able to watch and listen freely with the same release schedule that it has always been for all these 9 going on 10 years. Beacon just really allows us the flexibility to create fun, additional perks, stay better connected with all of you, and offer a more unfiltered experience.
Yes.
Now, this is interesting. I love what they just did there. I'm waiting for some sort of response from you, but no. Okay. You're like,
I'm waiting. Yeah. So what did they do?
well, the thing you got to remember is when they're making an offer like this, when you make any offer to your audience, you are asking them to take action, to do something differently in their life. You're asking them to make a transition or a transformation in some capacity. And automatically, that often, especially for people who are very comfortable and like things the way they are, people don't want to change. And the first thing they do is let you know, if you don't want to change, you don't have to change. Nothing is going to change for you. But just listen and see if you want this. They're immediately allaying fears that something big is changing in my experience of Critical Role. And I want you to not take for granted that that's important if you have established some sort of relationship with your list or with your audience, that if you go in there trying to make an offer and you're like, everything's going to change, this is going to be epic, this is going to be awesome, and you're going to love it, all you got to do is pay me $10, all of a sudden you're going to lose some people just because you're asking them to have to change. And I just already in the first minute, they're establishing that this is not about selling you anything, that it's really more about getting things to be better. That's what I mean by positioning. So you might think they're just being cute and they're being like their fun, relaxed selves because that's how they talk. But I want everybody to understand this was scripted highly intentionally in order to address every single one of these challenges and fears before they get into telling you how they're going to start making more money.
Yeah, and just to double down on something, the fact that they are not changing their existing offer, the free product that they already provide is really important. And sometimes we see in other situations when people start to create a paid membership, and we're seeing this with platforms like Meta, X, and other big companies like that. They're saying, you know what, you want that feature? Well, we're putting it behind a paywall. Like, that pisses people off.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing to do.
Well, and the thing is, the challenge with Facebook and Meta is they have a monopoly, right? So they can piss. They have the luxury of being able to piss people off because there's really not many options for us if we don't want to use their services. We either are on Facebook or we're off Facebook, but there's definitely an impact if you're off Facebook or if you're not on Insta, right? Like, you don't get the benefits of all the things that they provide as a platform for, billions and billions of people. The difference with this is Critical Role have a micro community of ultra dedicated fans. And this is something that every nerdpreneur can learn from, is that you are trying to build up a dedicated community of ultra rabid and awesome fans who love what you're creating, whether it's dice or some form of content or training courses or mimic books, whatever it is. You have micro communities. And what we're going to do when we go through this, you're going to see how they introduce the concept of giving them more money, right? But not in such a way of like, give us more money, but like, I want to show you how they position it, because I think this is super valuable for how many of you might want to position supporting you at a different level than just, give us more money. So let's talk about the next thing here.
There are a ton of perks that Beacon members will receive, and we're going to get to all that. But I think it's actually important to start with the why of all of this. Like, why launch a membership service right now?
Yeah, the TLDR is we kind of want to provide the best experience to you, our community. It was through your support that we were even allowed to go independent in the first place. Mm-hmm. And over time, that support allowed us to grow into quite a sizable company, employing some of the most talented creatives in this space.
I mean, hell, we were in the very privileged position to continue paying our production team throughout the pandemic, even though we weren't filming. And we truly couldn't have done that without the support of the critter community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. I mean, with every windfall that we get, we at CR purposefully reinvest back into the company so that we can make better content and really a better experience overall. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is where Beacon comes in.
Okay, so interesting. Next up, right after their nothing's going to change, don't worry, let's allay all those fears, right? Second thing is, who's it about?
Oh, I heard it. I mean, it's about the support that they get, but I didn't think so much of the who it's about. I heard the why. That's what they're talking about right here. So I'm curious what you mean by who.
They're talking, well, who is this whole thing about? It's not about us. It's not about our needs. It's not because our views are way down over the last year, which they are. It's not about the fact that a lot of our videos have gotten demonetized and our revenue streams are getting lower and lower, and we have the same amount of staff. That's not what they're saying, even though that's the reality, by the way. Like during
Mhm.
COVID, they had probably I want to say 2 to 3 times more engagement, more people watching. And you can Google this, you can find this out. There's all sorts of research on it, but their overall, and it's all public knowledge on Twitch, right? Like we know how many people are watching streams. It's easy for us to see. We know how much, people are getting paid. It's basically all dropped off since we're allowed to go outside again and have real events and COVID's gone. And also, there's some speculation of like, well, has this kind of waned and this is now the third season? All they, are we still into this as much as we were 2 years ago? And
Do you
so,
know if it's about the pre-pandemic levels, like their views? Is it about pre-pandemic or is it
well,
less or more?
that's tough to know the macro conditions. All I can say is there is a number of macro conditions. I mean, there's a lot more competition too, right? So Dimension 20 is crushing it, right? Like we got number one Dimension 20 fan right here, Frank, who doesn't like Critical Role. So he's not going to watch Critical Role. He's going to watch Dimension 20, who really 2 years ago was just sort of getting on the scene in the same level, like they've been doing it, but it wasn't the same. And by the way, another on caveat on this is Dimension 20 is also signed with Dropout TV, which is College
Mhm.
Humor's streaming service. So they
Well, that's
have,
where they started.
yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. They have this whole production company way bigger behind them than what Critical Role has, which is a little independent company. So keeping that in mind too, like they're battling at the pinnacle against other fairly large, huge things. Plus, Baldur's Gate's out. So maybe that's affecting how many people actually want to watch this too, right? Like there's so many macro conditions. It could be the quality's down. Maybe people just don't like it as much. Maybe they're burned out on Mercer. I don't know. I don't watch Critical Role. It could be any macro conditions. All I'm saying is, what did they say? It's not about us. It's about you, the people who have supported us, the people who are here and love us. We're talking direct. Who are they talking to is something you got to be thinking about when we watch an offer. Who are they talking to? They're not talking to everyone. They're talking to their diehard fans. If you have 1 million people that are supporting you or watching your show, there's probably 100,000 maybe that are like really big fans, and then you've got like in that 10,000 that are like diehard fans and will buy everything you ever do. And
Yeah,
so,
if you're lucky.
well, maybe I'm just saying, like, what I'm saying is it's pyramidal that way, right? Like, the
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
the more support you get, you have like out of 100 people who follow your content, maybe one of them will buy something from you, right? If we're lucky. So that's the percentages, and that's where when you hear this, I want you to think about who are they talking to? It's the person that is that diehard fan who has continued to buy their stuff, continued to support them through the pandemic, and it's not just them needing more money. It's really about this whole operation that you guys helped grow. And this is about you. It's about you. We're doing this for you. We're not doing this for us. We're doing this for our clients and for the people who listen and watch us and made this show what it is. It's just a really powerful acknowledgement at the beginning. And I think that you gotta realize like that's something some people also screw up if you're doing an offer, because you'll make it about me or about what I need, what I want, where I'm going, and you can't do that with an offer. You got to make it about your people.
I think there's also the trap for companies. They think, what do we want to offer
Hmm.
instead of what does our audience want us to offer? I
Hmm.
find in some other situations that I've seen, it's like that's not of any interest to me. Like I like your products, but I'm just not interested in supporting this. These perks have no interest to me. And you can tell it came from like the C suite. They're like, these are really good ideas. we should definitely offer these as a value add.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And how
it's not actually value add.
and sometimes, yeah, they don't actually know what their audience wants, or they're not considering what it is that they want. They just see what other people are offering and saying, "Oh, well, we got to do that to stay up with the content," or right, or stay. They're like looking. It's like approaching this as if like, well, Dimension 20 is doing this, so we got to do this, like. But I don't think that's always the right solution. You got to think and put yourself in the minds of who are you speaking to with an offer. Now, this next part is really interesting because they just mentioned the word beacon. They've already said it twice, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hear this a theme throughout the whole thing. They want you to remember this word. All right, I'm going to play the next bit because I think it's really funny.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh wait, no, not yet. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Sorry, Kyle.
What?
Thank
Sorry, buddy.
you. Yeah. Sorry. Over the years.
Okay, what just happened there?
They pulled your attention in again.
No, that right there is an open loop. It's what they call in the industry of offers an open loop. Something that's going to pay off at the end. In the area of TikTok, that's an open hook to pay attention. What the heck was that? I have a mystery in my head. I want to know. I better keep watching.
Right.
That's what they're doing. But how smart is it for them to pull you in early like that, right after buttering you up and saying, wow, you guys are awesome. We love you so much. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're not ready for that yet.
I think they know. I think that's coming from a place of knowing that. I mean, I'm honestly surprised they didn't do it earlier because we're here at the 2-minute mark.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you lose viewers in the first 30 seconds. Their first 30 seconds wasn't, mind blowing. It wasn't going to just really pull you in like our short attention span requires. But I think they know their audience well enough, and their audience is patient. After all, their
Watching
games
4 hours,
take forever. So they're used to a patient audience that is probably going to wait up to 2 minutes, but maybe not more than that on an update like this. So I think it was well timed.
My guess is this is about where Frank, who's not a Critical Role fan, turned off. Because
I did. I actually turned off after the first, or within the first minute, because I was like, great, cool, I get it. All good.
Yeah.
And I went to the website.
Exactly. And so this is the thing. They're not talking to you because you're not going to support them in this way, but they're looking for that diehard fan, the 1 in 1,000 that's going to spend the money to actually go to this. And that's what the point of this whole thing is, talking directly to who they want. So there's a bunch of people, they probably lost the minute and then a 2-minute mark. But then these people that they're talking to, they're hooking them. I mean, and this is not unethical. This is very smart. And it's also about value add. So these people are going to love what they get, I'm sure. But I want people to understand, when you make an offer, that's what you got to do. You're not trying to get everyone. You're trying to get the right ones.
It has become a huge priority for us to bring more and more of our business in-house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no secret that video platforms have, let's just say they've been through their ups and downs
Nice way to
here
say it.
recently. Yeah, that's fine, right? It's not uncommon for our content to get demonetized because we all have the vocabulary of teenage sailors. Or on the extreme other end of the spectrum, we'll sometimes have ads run in front of our content that don't really vibe with our beliefs.
Yep.
That's not cool.
And in full transparency, early on in this discussion, we asked ourselves, why not just use a service like Patreon, right? But that would still mean relying on another outside company, which isn't great for us, and it's not a direct line between us and you, our audience.
Correct.
And that is where Beacon comes in.
Okay. So third time they said Beacon, which is great. So you can see they're continuing to create this story around this thing that's the solution to all your problems. But what did they just do there? Step 2 of the sale. Step 1 was build rapport, which is what they just did in the first little bit. Step 2 is create a need. If you're looking for the need, why the heck are we changing anything, Critical Role? Why are you doing this? Why are you messing with my potential comfort here? Well, they just gave us some real reasons. And the reasons are things get demonetized. There's a noble, like, we don't have control over the ads that are in front of us, and we don't like to not have that control, and we only want to support things that we support, and we know you care about that too. So that's a thing. And anyone who basically in their minds takes a cut of the money out, like a Patreon or anything like that, is essentially an intermediary between us and you. We want direct communication with our audience and with you direct fans, you awesome people who are, we want to talk to our best clients. That's the positioning of this. And so creating a need right off the bat, so they can lead you down the path of value and sale.
Yeah, I think that is really interesting. They're also doing a good job of pulling empathy from the audience, and a sense of compassion, which I think is something that I really appreciate in marketing and messaging, is when there's a story to it. Like they're clearly hinting at issues that have had in the past that have happened in the past, I guess. I don't really know, but I can easily imagine how YouTube would put an ad in front of their content that's like,
Donald Trump for
I don't
president.
know,
Yeah,
maybe a
exactly.
political one.
Right.
Exactly. A political one. And they're like, what the F? Like that doesn't align with our values as a team, and it sucks that that YouTube is taking that view, those eyeballs, that money, sending it to someone we don't agree with. And so you're going to get your audience fired up around something like that. But also, they've expressed, hey, it's a pain point for us that we can't control this stuff because we want to. If we have control, then we're able to do more of what we want. And what we want to do is what you want. And so there is this interesting interesting tactic to get us to empathize with them
and humanize
finding
them.
Sure, yeah, humanizes them.
Yeah.
It says, hey, we're on the same side with you.
Yeah, we're on the same side of the table. That's where they're
but
selling from.
But finding a way to get your audience to empathize with you is really tricky. So I think they've done a really good job. You mentioned the noble quality, like, we're trying not to support bad causes or things we don't agree with. And I think that really aligns with the TTRPG community really well. Like they are pretty hardcore
mission
about
driven.
that stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Very mission driven.
Yeah.
And not all audiences are.
No. But they know their audience, right? Like they're like, we have to give these people a noble mission, a higher cause. They want to be heroes.
Yeah, down with big corporate, up with the little indie studio.
Exactly. That's very much the message here. So let's keep going. And by the way, they just mentioned Beacon again. Yes. So what happens?
Yes. It's on. Yeah, sorry.
This is really confusing.
Yeah, I know. I should have told them a better cue. Sorry.
Right. So they've got this hook. Oh, remember that open loop? Remember that? All right. They're going to keep us coming back to it.
When thinking about what we wanted Beacon to be, we really wanted it to be like a one-stop shop for all things Critical Role.
Yeah.
So in that way, it truly is kind of our digital Critical Role land. So you will get to unlock things like merch discounts, private Beacon Discord, live event pre-sales, as well as early access to content like the Critical Role podcast, which we haven't done before, and some bonus exclusive content like CR Cooldown, for example, which is really just a peek into our reactions as soon as the game ends and Matt signs off, and we're all like, what the hell did you do to us?
Yeah, think of it kind of like the bonus features of a DVD.
Yeah.
Remember DVDs? You remember? No? Okay.
No. But we are really excited about the private Discord as well, because as things continue to grow and evolve and we add things, we want to make sure that we have a hub for our community that we are able to engage with on a more personal level, right? So when we do things like our fireside chats, we'll be able.
So I want to pause here before we get into the community aspect, because that's a whole separate thing. But step 3 of every sale is build value.
Right
there. Like right after they created the need, what did they go into? Building the value. Here's what's in it for you. You got to tune people into their favorite radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Okay. And that,
nice.
Do people still listen to radio? I don't know.
I've never heard that one. That was good.
But I'll tell you, WIIFM, that is what people care about. And so what was in it for them? Like discounts, pre-sales, exclusive content, like
early access.
Everything they're saying is that's what we call in the industry a value stack. All right. Boom, 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 boom. So that you're like, well, that sounds pretty cool. Those are all things I would want if I am a person who loves Critical Role. Now, that goes back to the original thing we talked about, Frank, where people were like, what do I want to sell instead of what will people want for me to sell? right?
Yeah, finding what they really actually want to pay for.
Yeah, exactly. So they actually would have started with the concept of like, all right, this is probably how much we want to charge and how much we need to make and what percentage of people we want to be enrolled into this so we can keep going at the level and continue growing, right? So if we know that we need to get this many people in, we need to charge this much, what would make people want to spend that and stay in for this long? And that's how they craft the offer.
$6 is what they're asking per month and 60 per year.
Yeah.
But they are not the only ones to go with the $6 model. I actually find it's pretty common. I think there's some psychological research behind like, well, $5 isn't bad, but also $6 is really just $1 more than $5. And people realize that. And I think, like you said, it's okay. We need to get a certain amount of money. How much can we get based on the size of our projected audience? Now, how do we convince, like, what are the things? I think it's a really nice way that you said it. What do we need to offer in order to get the dollar amount that we know we need?
Yeah. And,
And that's honestly not a way I've normally thought about it.
yeah. There's two ways that you can go. And the benefit of what they have is they have a wide audience, right? And by wide, I mean they have a lot of people. They have a huge audience. Now, many of our
Global.
creators, you don't, not compared to Critical Role. Like you have a small micro audience. And so for you to go out there and charge $6 for your membership site, for example, doesn't really work because you would need thousands and thousands of people to justify your business on a month-to-month basis, $6 a month. For them, $6 a month, they can go wide and they also are paying a lot more people. So they need tens of thousands of people doing this every month just to function, right? So to keep in mind here, like they have the benefit of a large and wide audience. And that's why when you do a large, wide audience, you start with a small dollar offer like this just to get people into your community, identify those people willing to spend money, and then they'll upsell you on the back end, or people will be upsold into what level they're comfortable of spending down the road, which could be in the mind. That's why they also have already hinted at this is just the beginning. Why are they saying that? Because they know down the road you're going to be able to pay premiums on the inside to do meet and greets or private events or I don't know, do any other number of high ticket, high value offer where you get exclusive things for spending that extra money. And I'll tell you, this is a model that I keep seeing not just here, but really blowing up in the music industry right now. Like there's tons of independent artists that are taking this sort of model and they don't have tens of thousands of people. What they have is a micro community of people who love their music. And so what they do is they'll do like, oh, I'll come out and sing at your birthday party for $5,000, for example, right? Or I'll come out and perform for this specific amount. Or there's a guy I was listening to a podcast who does like, I'm going to create ayahuasca ceremony experiences where I do that with them and we all go through with the music and create something together. And that's a high value. He runs that 2-3 times a year, $10,000 a pop. Boom. You've got $30,000-$40,000 coming in just from like 4 or 5 clients, right? So you got to remember, like, that's how a lot of these people, if you're a nerdpreneur and you've got that small micro community, you got to think about it like that. Not necessarily as like, well, I'm going to charge $6. Maybe that's just the entry point in. And you're going to find those high flying buyers down the road that actually want to pay you more.
Something else that they said here that I really wanted to touch on was they're now getting into the community aspect, but before they even start to, they warmed into this idea of more opportunities to watch us being unfiltered. You know, the what did they call it? Like the cool
Yeah,
down
the immediate
talks.
reactions post show,
Yeah,
it's like you're in the room with us.
and the fireside chats, and so they know that their audience really likes connecting with them and
Yes.
seeing them because they understand that they've all created brands around themselves, and people want to essentially meet their idols,
Yeah.
right? And so they're not only saying, hey, there's a chance for you to connect with us, but there's also a Discord, so there's a chance to connect even more with us, get like closer to us. And it's that for those people that want that, I think that's a really clever way of saying, you know what, they call that out just now. He was calling out, let's you can engage with us on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really, they're, yeah, like you said, they're doing really clever stuff here.
Yeah. And then I want to get into the community thing because there's more on this, because this is the whole other. Community is important to almost any offer as well, especially one where you already have a big community like this. So let's talk about that.
Be able to pull questions directly from the Discord server, which honestly is going to be a lot more manageable for us than just.
There's so much chat.
Yeah.
And we would like to point out that this is just the beginning of what we want to do with this membership service. We have a ton of things in mind, so many ideas that we want to add to Beacon over time and continue to beef it up. But, you got to start somewhere or else this thing would never come out.
Yeah.
So stay tuned and be patient with us as we continue to improve it as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with that said, Beacon will be the most direct way that you can support us and everything we do here at Critical Role Land, and not have a portion of your hard-earned subscription dollars going to a massive third-party corporation.
Yeah.
We've always kind of held the strong belief that we want to let our audience choose how they want to support us, and Beacon we've designed to just be another avenue for our audience to choose from. So as part of that, I want to thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for all of your continued support. We have a ton of really cool stuff on the horizon, especially with the 10-year anniversary just around the corner. So please,
so wild.
stay tuned.
And you can read all the details about Beacon on.
Okay, cool. So that's the community aspect, right? Anything you notice there with the community? Because it's just what you said, right?
Yeah, they're doubling down on the opportunities to engage more with them.
Mm-hmm.
They also talk about how it's technically more convenient for them, which pulls on that heartstring again of, oh, well, I want to support them. I want to make this easier for them because I believe in them. I believe in what they're doing. And I've been a critter from the very beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm also going to be in a community of other like-minded people. And that whole thing of like, oh, there's the chat roll going by, it's really hard. Well, it's going to be, they're able to pull stuff from the Discord, which is, yes, way easier for them, but then only the people in Discord are probably going to get questions, which makes me think, oh, I better be in the Discord if I want any questions, right? Like it's this whole thing of like, if I want to be, they're basically saying, if they had come on here and said, guys, we're no longer doing the chat thing, come to the Discord if you want questions, that wouldn't have worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work. It's too much for us, guys. We've got to just we're only taking questions we're taking something away from you, but that's not what they're saying. We're saying, hey, this is just going to be easier for us. The Discord, it's better for everybody. And it's like positioning it as, you better be in here if you want your questions answered, because
this is where the real critters hang out.
Exactly.
And they also, another advantage to this system of Discord that is just clever. And if anyone listening is exploring a similar model, this creates a barrier for trolls. Because people who watch Critical Role or other shows or whatnot, they probably watch it for free, and you get a lot of people who show up since they don't have to pay, and they just spew some hate. But in this case,
you never do that, right, Frank?
No, of course I don't.
No, of course
but
not.
So there's lots of people that you make it sound like I do. I do not.
No, I know you don't. But I'm just like, we started this whole conversation with how much you hate Critical Role. So I thought,
I don't hate. I did not say hate.
No, I know.
But there is jealousy, and I'm especially jealous now that they're doing so well.
Okay.
But as far as like that barrier that is created, it's going to keep people out, because a hater is not going to give money to Critical Role. And if a hater is so fueled with hatred that they want to pay so they can get into the Discord and be a hater, Critical Role still wins.
Yeah.
Because they're getting their money.
Exactly. And so there's always this nice community aspect of like, you're not alone. You're going to have direct access. You're going to be around other critters, the real critters, the really big fans will be here. And then they kept on talking about how much there is on the horizon. So you don't even know. This leaves it open that, there's a mystery. It's like, wow, what else could be added? I really want it. And most of those things, whatever they wind up being, it gives them the opportunity to drop things in and take things out and shift it. So the offer itself is fairly fluid, which I will tell you, in the rules of offers, is usually not the way you want to go. Usually with an offer,
Really?
people want to know exactly what it is they're paying for and exactly what they're getting, and they don't want it to be different when they change. But the difference I think that's really interesting here is they're opening it up to being like, hey, be patient with us. This is all new. We don't really know what we're doing. They know what they're doing. They've got this plan. They're smart business people. We're seeing that in the structure of this. But I want everybody to understand that, like, I love that they are making it fluid as an offer. And I think that's a new trend in these sort of small ticket offers where you're only asking for $6 or $10 or something like that. And they're willing to part with, say, $50 to see where this goes. Like, it's not a high ticket. Now, if it's a high ticket offer, you've got to be real clear on what they're spending. Like, if this was $10,000, they wouldn't be able to get away with that. They would
Right.
have to have exactly what it is that they're offering. But because it's a low ticket, it's just we're testing this out. We're not asking for much. So, don't expect crazy awesome yet. They're lowering expectations, which is smart because it's only going to be $6. So it's probably not going to be that great right off the bat comparative. And then they're going to slowly work it out over the course of time, figuring out what these micro communities really want and really are willing to stay for, and that's what they'll invest more time and energy and money in.
Now, I'm going to disagree with you on something because I'm not sure. I think you may be giving these business people a little too much credit.
Oh.
I actually don't think they know what is going to work. I think they know some things that will land, like additional exclusive content. Of course, that is going to work because I don't know for certain, but I could almost say I know for certain that they have been getting feedback of, we want more content, more content. Yeah. Anyway, the thing that I disagree on is I don't think they actually know what else is going to work, which is why they want to say, stay with us,
Yeah.
bear with us, because I think that actually online memberships, sure, we can go back and say Netflix, the Netflix model, as it's called sometimes, that is where it started. So we have all that data from probably about 20 years ago, but actually, yeah, almost exactly 20 years ago. But I don't think there's a lot of good data on what online memberships, like what there's a lot of rules in marketing, a lot of known laws about like marketing and sales, but there's not as much when it comes to online memberships. So I don't think they really know what is going to resonate. And I would be surprised if they had a solid plan where they looked at and they said, this is where we need to go. It's going to work. I would bet they're saying this because the online community is ruthless.
And so are nerds, especially around like,
Yes.
hey, I want this, I don't want this, and I want it now. So I agree. I don't think that they have a hard and fast. I think they do have a plan though. Like they've already planted an open loop for their 10th anniversary thing. That's going to be a big thing, whatever that is. We don't know what it is, but that's going to be big. So they do have plans in place that are going to be big so that when they join, there's something that creates an epic experience for them when they join. So I guarantee you they have that in place. They have some of those things planned. And I bet you they have some higher level experiences that people will be willing or able to pay for down the road as well, that they're thinking of rolling out with proper launches with this micro
Yes.
community. But are they keeping the doors open to be agile and shift things based on community feedback? Absolutely, of course. And so that's why it's a low ticket offer to kind of get people in, but they are expecting that this will be a start of a conversation with their ultra fans, right? And that's really the power of this offer.
I think it's a really great way for them to start to monetize their audience and see how much money really is there. I think they've got a good idea, but it's all been through third parties, like they've said. And so when somebody is trying to monetize an existing audience, it's usually harder to figure that out because you don't have as much data as a crew like Critical Role, especially if, say, you're selling a physical product. You get the you could look at the data and say, okay, I sell these products, I sell this many per month. I can know that there is this much money in it. So you can kind of figure out that based on the number of sales, your demand. You could do that, sure. And then you could say, well, maybe 10% of those sales would actually be interested in a membership. Well, first, I need to figure out how to boost that by figuring out the kind of value adds that I can give them in a membership. Like
Mhm.
maybe they get early access to my handmade products. Maybe they get first dibs, because I know that's a big thing on like Etsy stores and people who make it by hand. Their stuff is gone in a
Yeah,
flash.
some people makes like a lot of musicians will use like signed albums, like buy the album, but if you buy it from my Discord or from me directly instead of through a record label or at a CD store, I'll sign it for you. You know, like these kind of things can just be extra value adds, or maybe you throw it Dragon Master's Horde dice, but not only did she have like the product, but she also had like nice handwritten like note for us about the product and thank you. Like all these little extra nuances make the value add a little better.
And I think there's a dangerous trap here too, as we talk about this, of we mentioned this a moment ago, of creating value adds that you think your audience wants. And one example that popped into my mind is, say you are you write, you're a storyteller, you create content that people can pay for on like drive through TTRPG or drive through RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe you put up stuff there and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to create a membership where people get exclusive access to certain stuff, or I'm going to create and one of the values is these people get to be involved in what I write and they get to contribute thoughts. And I would be surprised if an audience actually wants that. I
Yeah.
actually think that maybe an audience is like, no, I'm not going to help you write your product, and I pay you, and I end up helping you to write your product so that I then buy the product. Like I can see people being upset with that, but a creator thinking it's a great idea. So
Yeah.
there's certain things you got to be careful of. And why not ask your community?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
on Reddit or even X or wherever you have your community, Discord if you've got one.
It's like, you know, can you imagine if your favorite fantasy writer asked you, well, how do you think it should end? And then like
Yeah,
and then they
unless they're
wrote
just
that. That would be terrible.
unless it's just like engagement bait content on Instagram, then I'm like, okay, like I get what they're doing.
Yeah, but I think you're right. There's a lot of things that can be said about the extra value add that they're bringing in, but it's still all focused on what their community wants, or what they know their community wants or has probably expressed in the past
Yes.
through direct messages, through chat, through emails, through engagement on their posts. All these things are clues so that you can pull that stuff into your into your marketing and use that to actually create an offer that converts. So I want to finish this off soon because I don't know.
Yeah,
Sorry, do
yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
something else on
There's
that?
a couple more, just not big things, but after seeing this, I wanted to know how many people, like what's the feedback? Are people excited? Are they pissed? And the best place to go is the video's comments.
Ba-ba-bum.
And
You're right.
there's actually fine. They're okay with it. There's like people are essentially saying in many different ways, like, cool, like, happy to support. But they're not like, oh my fucking god, I'm so goddamn excited. Like you're not hearing any of that. You're seeing happy to support the show. You're seeing as long as the main show remains free and on schedule and untouched. You're seeing people referencing some of the funny bits in this, which shows like that they did a good job. Which, newsflash, they're actors. They better be fucking good at presenting on camera.
Yeah.
Like I'm not surprised there. And there's like, as a former actor, there's so much in this video that I'm just like, that was an actor's thing. Like that was an actor thing. Like they're injecting that enthusiasm in a syringe
Yeah.
format.
Yeah. You're about to
And
see one more thing of that, by the way, too.
oh, are we gonna look? Are we gonna watch the clip
No.
afterwards?
Just
Oh,
one
okay.
more thing about it. I'll play it right now because it's just what you said. But watch this. Watch
Okay,
this.
yeah, go for it.
On critroll.com, or go directly to beacon.tv. I like that name, beacon.tv.
Beacon.tv.
TV, to check it out for yourself and start a 7-day free trial.
So do you see what they just did there?
They joked around with it and in the process said it multiple times.
Exactly. They're just like, they want to make sure everybody remembers it. They want to put it in your head in a different way. They want to make it like kind of cutesy, but
they
they
know
did it
that tactic
intentionally.
from their ads. They always, like,
Yeah.
when they do their call outs at the beginning of their shows, like, they always make it silly, but they say it repeatedly.
So many times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
That was another thing I couldn't really stand, was all the product placement.
well, you have to say things 3 times for anyone to remember it to begin with. So they say it at least 3 times. They say beacon so many times in this because they want people to be able to Google it. They want people to be able to look it up. They want people to be able to talk about it. They want people to know what it is when they say beacon. The worst thing is if people, they don't know what this thing's called, or they don't even know what it's referring to. And then what do they offer? This is their crushing offer right here. Start your 7-day free trial. That means they
Yes.
didn't even say how much it is. They didn't even say how much it is. Just remember that. Like, notice that. It wasn't like, oh, it's only going to be $6 a month or whatever. It was like, no, 7-day free trial. Just go in there and see if you like it. If you hate it, drop out. We don't care. That is the whole thing. We want to give you a chance because we believe in our product. We believe in ourselves. We believe in you. We're going to basically give you a shot at this. Again, I'm not trying to sell for Critical Role. I'm not. And I'm not saying you should go all buy this because you're probably not their market. But I want our nerdpreneurs to look at this and learn something from it because they have what most nerdpreneurs want, which is massive audience with a rabid fan base that spends money and supports every single thing they do. And wouldn't that be the nerdpreneur dream?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought this up. I didn't actually watch this whole video, so I'm glad you brought it up. I think there's a lot of value in this, and it has gotten me thinking about what other memberships are out there. And we don't need to dive into it now, but it's just, I just want to mention it briefly. Some of the things that are coming out about Meta and Meta's membership for businesses and how they're going to charge a shit ton of money, which made me do some digging into what other, like, memberships are out there for social media. And it's a sad day when social media platforms that were once free have decided to gate your content unless you're on a paid plan. So in that case, it's like, all right, well, one question that is coming up, and that is a downside of monetizing your audience, because we've addressed a lot of the good, I think, and ways to monetize your audience. But I think something that's bad about monetizing your audience is that you start to, the people on your platform that are creating content that is being seen is only by people who pay. Well, what if those people who pay actually make shit content? So the only content showing up on your platform is shit content. So I'm really curious if that is going to happen with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter kind of is in that vein already because they've been in this path for a little while. And with TikTok going away, very likely, I am curious to see where all of those people go. Are they going to go to YouTube? Maybe. Instagram, most likely. Facebook, maybe not.
New platform.
Twitter, probably not.
I think Vine's coming back because Twitter owns Vine. And I'm calling it right now that they're waiting for TikTok to leave, and then Musk is going to launch Vine again. You watch.
That is a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I bet you, because they own all of that, and Vine has the brand recognition that they could actually reboot it, because TikTok is just Vine with better features, right? Like,
so get good at those 6-second videos. Practice your 6-second video skills, everybody. Get ready.
They might shift Vine to just be like TikTok with 3-minute videos and stuff, right? So it's just, there's a lot that could happen. Very exciting time to be in social media. I want to just finish this off and see if there is anything else I want to comment on. I'm not going to go through the last 2 minutes because you can watch that all over social media if you want, but I want to see if they say anything else.
Now, with all of that being said, I think it's finally time for the moment you've all been waiting for, the moment that Kyle has been waiting for. Let's do the unveiling of Beacon. Bring it out, Kyle. Woo! Kyle, what is this?
It's the Beacon?
No. I meant like the website.
You wanted me to wheel out a website?
Yeah, I don't know. Put it like on a monitor or like a poster board. Would you even done it?
But I mean, what if you just turn it
on?
on?
Well, no, this is very volatile.
And then they get into the 2-minute like clip of how they can, that's the thing. Like, it's kind of smart.
Very cute.
It's very smart in many ways. I'll tell you a couple things. One, because the hook pays off, right? The hook pays off from the very, very beginning. Now we get to find out what it is. it's cute, whatever. It's very Critical Role-y, but then we're sucked into an ad and we want to pay attention to what the heck is this? Because they've spent the whole time basically getting us to this, which is their sales video. All right. In case you were wondering, like,
Yeah, their pitch.
this is
Pitch
their
video.
sales video that they play. And I'm not going to deconstruct the whole thing because I think we're just running low on time with this, but it is a powerful sales video that if you watch it, you'll see that they have all of their little tropes in it, but condensed into a minute and a half or a minute and 45 seconds, I guess is probably what it is. And you'll be able to, at the end of it, know exactly what you want to buy, which is Beacon. So it's powerful.
Yeah, there's a lot of good lessons in here for anyone that is going to make their own sales video. I did appreciate quite a few things in here. And yeah, I won't go into it right now. But all in all, I'm excited for Critical Role. I know that I've said a lot about, how I'm not a fan of theirs. I'm not a critter, but I want to just emphasize, like, I am stoked for them. I think that it's really exciting for their company, their independent studio. And I really like where we're going because they are pioneering some stuff. They're pioneering a lot of stuff, and they have been for a while. So I'm curious to see what resonates most with the audience, what succeeds, because this is just a day old at the point of us doing this.
Yeah.
So there's going to be points where there's backlash. There's going to be positive feedback. I'm not going to Twitter to figure this out. I just nowadays I avoid Twitter. I'm not addressing the 16 notifications that we have. I'm just leaving that alone.
Should I take over our Twitter? I'll just start fires, and I know I'll probably just burn it all to the ground.
I've put my energy into YouTube.
Yeah, we'll become the most infamous podcasters in the nerddom.
They got burned and then they left Twitter. It's like, yeah, we did. We're leaving Twitter for now, at least.
We'll be back. I think we should relaunch ourselves on Twitter and just be like villains this time. So,
okay. Well, then that would be your Twitter account. I'm not managing the villain account.
I think nerdy kingdoms need a villain, and we can be those people. I'll say, I think there are a lot of people out there that do kind of treat business and, making money with your nerdy passion is kind of a villainous thing to do. It's weird, but I think there's a large part of people that feel bad about creators trying to survive or thrive doing the thing they love. And we're kind of in the opposite opinion. We think that there's real science and tools and techniques and strategies that people are using to be successful in those markets and be able to turn their nerdy passion into a real business. And if you didn't think it was possible, it totally is. And that it's not a bad thing to do. It's actually a good thing to do. As long as you're adding value and you're not ripping people off, you're honest, you're gonna see I think that's the whole point of this thing, is we want to elevate that. And to me, it's not a villainous thing to do, but I think to a lot of people out there, they might think about that as just, it's evil and it's capitalist, and that's just their baseline. And it's like, that's not right.
And having a side hustle is an important contingency plan, because right now we're in an employee market where if you're unhappy, you don't have to say anything. You can just quit and you'll get a new job. But I would expect, and based on some independent research and sources that I've listened to, we're probably going to hit a depression, like a Great Depression level in the next 5 to 7 years. And so having the ability and a brand already created to monetize yourself, and some knowledge and chops around that, and a product that is already ready to go, that's going to be the difference between suffering and being comfortable.
Yeah. And it's okay to start off your passion project as a side hustle. You don't have to go all in right off the bat. You can be an employee, you can work and have some of that security, but you don't only want to have that because you're not really secure in a job. We know that people get laid off, or Wizard decides to downsize, or macro conditions change, or weather conditions change and whole industries vanish. Like, there's a whole lot of things, like TikTok could go away, all these macro conditions happen, which is why as a nerdpreneur, even if you just start off as a side hustle, you're gonna insulate yourself to some extent, creating less fear-based decision-making in your life. And when you're making decisions from a place of security and confidence versus fear and scarcity, you're going to make a lot better decisions for your life and live a lot happier in the end.
There's a lot of people we've interviewed that, and I won't go into them, but there's a lot of people we've interviewed that have done that route. Exactly what you're talking about. And I encourage, if anyone's listening to this that hasn't heard our interviews, like there are a lot of them that are really good stories about people leaving behind, like starting something while they had a job. Like Suety Fiddle is a great interview on that note about someone who started something as a side hustle, turned it into a full-time job eventually once it took off. And even Only Crits, they had a similar story along those lines of starting it somewhere and turning it into a full-time job. And other people like T and Creatures Who Craft, like they still do a main job. They're in that phase before they become fully nerdpreneurs. So I encourage a listener to go and check out those interviews, because you can start anywhere and you can be anywhere in the process, and it's just good to get started.
Yeah, you don't have to be the Devin who like goes to, venture partner investors
Yeah.
and, gets hundreds of thousands of dollars to start playing games. Like that is a route to go. And we did interview him too. So check that one out if that's the route you want to go and go all in on your idea. It is a route and people do it. But I will say it's not always the route. And most of the people that we know that we're interviewing are just like you. They got started. They began something not knowing how to do it or what they were doing, and they fumbled through and slowly until they got someone to buy something, and then they built a community, and now they have this thing that's going, and it's and they're nerdpreneurs. You don't have to know what you're doing before you go out there and do it. You just have to start doing it.
Yeah, we all start somewhere. Well, thanks for bringing this up, Chris. I thought this was a really great topic.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I thought it might be valuable for us, and hope everybody listening got something out of it too. But thanks again for listening, everybody. And as always,
keep it nerdy.
Hey, Nerdpreneurs, one more thing before you go. First, I wanted to thank you for all the support that you've been giving the show. We've had a whole lot of new reviews because of the last episode, and because so many of you came through, our ratings have grown. Stick around to the end because I want to let you know where our current rating is at. The bigger our rating gets, the bigger our guests can get. We're all in this together, and you guys are awesome. You're keeping this content ad-free. We don't run ads on this thing. All we actually do is ask for a little support from our biggest fans. And if you are one of those people, we want to talk to you directly. We want to have a direct line of communication. There is a way for all of you to get that. If you go to patreon.com/nerdpreneur, that's NERDPRENEUR. I can't believe I just spelled that. Holy crap. Nerdpreneur at the end of patreon.com, all right? When you go there, you can actually join what we call the Awesome Nerdpreneur Board.
Awesome Nerdpreneur Board!
See, by being part of our board, that means you get to have some say in the direction of the podcast. Not only will you hear about interviews releasing early, you'll get direct line communication with us, ask us questions, business related or otherwise. You'll also be able to submit ideas for future Nerdpreneur guests and questions that we ask them. So that's pretty cool. Plus, we're all about wanting to connect other nerdy entrepreneurs with each other, so you'd be joining a community of other like-minded people trying to build their passion into a business. So if that sounds interesting to you, head on down to patreon.com and become a member of our awesome Nerdpreneur Board. And as promised, our rating right now on Apple Podcasts is 3.2, and on Spotify is a 4.1. Let's keep building that up. Thanks a lot for listening, and as always, keep it nerdy.